Hey folks, today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. WTFpod.com is powered by Squarespace. Make your site a Squarespace site too. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter offer code WTF to get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, set your website apart. We're also sponsored by CISO, the all-comedy ad-free streaming TV service made for the serious comedy fan. Go check it out at SEESO.com. They've got every episode of comedy classics like 30 Rock, Parks and Recreation, Monty Python, The Kids in the Hall, Alan Partridge, The Mighty Boosh, and so much more. Get late night comedy the next day, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, The Late Show with Seth Meyers, and SNL. Plus stand-up specials and never-before-seen original series. Go to CISO.com to start a 1-month trial for free. Yeah, baby.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuckericans, what the fucksters, what the fucknicks? Yeah, what the fucknicks. How about that? Old school. Hey, it's me, Marc Maron. This is WTF. It's my podcast. I'm in New York City. I'm here for an opening of a famous artist, Sarah Kane, the Sarah Kane. Her show, Dark Matter, opens tonight, Thursday night, September 8th, here in New York City at the Gallery Le Long. That's gallery with an I-E at the end because it's fucking fancy. Some fancy business. I went over there and looked at my partner's girlfriend, I don't know, lady, friend, person I'm seeing. I still don't, partner just doesn't, it doesn't work for me. I know that's everybody, partner, what does that mean? I got to call Brendan, my producer and business partner, my partner, but then I have to qualify it with business partner. So obviously I know that the word has implications, but maybe my chick, does that not kosher? No good? I'll go with the lady I'm seeing. The woman in my life. Oh boy, she's giving me the thumbs up in her bathrobe on the bed. So I went over there and looked at the show, and I got to say it's pretty spectacular. It's like going to an abstract theme park. Very full body experience, full body immersion in the art of Sarah Kane. If you want to go to the opening, it's open to the public tonight here in New York City, 6 to 8 at Gallery Le Long. So what else on the show today? Billy Crystal, the Billy Crystal. The great, one of the great Jewish funny men. Can I call him that? Sure. Why not? Oh, before you fast forward to Billy, new WTF cat mugs are available from Brian Jones up in Portland. These are the same mugs I give to my guests. They go on sale at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Go to brianrjones.com to get yours. I'm in a motel room. I'm not drinking just coffee. I'm drinking tea. It's kind of cold. I just spent an hour and a half with Tom Sharpling. We just recorded another Marc and Tom show. That should be forthcoming. We'll get that out to you soon. We had our standard somewhat midlife chats about this and that. But very few people make me laugh as much as Tom Sharpling. I don't know if you listen to the best show, but you should listen to it. He's one of the great broadcasters. Very funny, and we have fun together. So look forward to that. I just got here yesterday to New York City from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I spent a few days. I'd like to thank everyone who came out to the big benefit for Endorphin Power Company at the Hispanic Cultural Center at the Albuquerque Journal Theater there in my hometown. It was a spectacular show. I had a great time for a good cause. Saw a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while. It's very wild, man. It's very wild to not be part of people's lives for decades, But having had them in your life for a short period of time at another point in your history, and I've always had a hard time wrapping my brain around that, seeing people. Because you have these very strong connections. Like I saw right when I got to Albuquerque, I went to Duran's Pharmacy for some carne adobada. And I was just sitting there at the counter, and there's some middle-aged dude at the other end of the counter, just a stout little dude, and he's looking at me, and I got no idea. I'm not connecting it. I'm not seeing nothing. Thought maybe he recognized me or whatever, so I'm sitting there. He gets up, walks over, and he's like, "Hey, Mark, man, do you remember me? It's me, John." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Holy shit. It's John, the guy who lived across the street from me, whose house, who I got stoned with him in his tree house. One of the first times I got really stoned." And I've told this story before, but it was one of those great moments of bad parenting that probably led me to where I am now. But nonetheless, I could barely see John in this guy. Because a lot of times people put it different ways. Like, Tom Shalhoub used to do a bit about seeing the person that you used to know inside the person you're talking to. They're just surrounded by more face. But it almost looks like these people have eaten the person you knew in high school, and they've grown from within them, inside of them. Whatever the case, you kind of see who the person was. And I recognized him once he said who it was, but, he did have this awkward sort of stonery laugh that, he kind of interjected nervously after almost each sentence. And I'm like, that's the John I know. There's that, like, "Hey, man, it's me, John." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, there you are. There you are." But yeah, he was the guy. I went over to his house, and we went up his tree house, got really stoned. I freaked out. I went home to my house. I walked in. My mother was on to it. She said, "Are you stoned?" And I go, "Yes, I'm stoned." And she goes, "Well, why don't you go to your room and play guitar? They say you play better when you're like that." She didn't really have the hang of punishing, but I appreciate that. Because, that kind of creative support is what sent me wandering throughout the world aimlessly to define myself in a creative way. And that's why I ended up here, because my mom sent me to my room high to play guitar. Hey, are you running your business over email or using chat software, or worst of all, having a bunch of meetings? No wonder you're losing your mind. That's the hard way. Switch away from that chaos and try Basecamp instead. Version 3 is all new and the best version yet. No more he said, she said. No more wait, I never saw that. No more huh? How was I supposed to know? None of that. Done with that. Basecamp organizes all your projects and communication in one place, so you have a central source of truth. With Basecamp, people know what they need to do. They know where things are, and everyone's accountable. It's especially great for client projects or internal collaboration. Companies of all sizes love it. Teams say they couldn't live without it. We used it when we were collaborating with the team that redesigned WTFpod.com. You really need to try it for yourself. Sign up today for a free trial at basecamp.com/WTF. You'll pick it up in like a few minutes. Then you just add your team and get going. Remember, go to basecamp.com/WTF and then start your free trial. All right? Carnegie Hall, November 4th. That's happening. Tickets are going fast. I would get them if I were you. I will be in Rochester, New York, at the Comedy Club tomorrow night and Saturday night, 9th and 10th, 4 shows. I think 1 or 2 is sold out, but I think there's still tickets available. The Wilbur, September 24th, 2 shows. That's happening. There might be some tickets for that second show. I believe there are. Largo in Los Angeles, October 22nd. Carnegie Hall, already mentioned that. Anyway, Billy Crystal is here today, and the reason I didn't know if I could get Billy Crystal on the show, I didn't know that Billy Crystal would want to be on the show necessarily. And I was at the very sad but very uplifting and provocative memorial service for Gary Shandling, and I was talking to Rob Reiner, who I'd had on the show, and he was standing there with Billy Crystal, and we were talking about Rob doing the show, and I look at Billy Crystal, and I'm like, "Would you ever do the show?" And he was sort of like, "Yeah, of course I would do the show." He was kind of had that vibe of sort of like, "Why am I not on the show? Why are you talking to Rob about the show? Why are you asking Rob Reiner to do the show and not me?" And it was one of those moments like, "I just never thought you would do the show. You would do," and he's like, "Yes, of course, I'd love to do the show." So that's how that happened. So that's what Billy Crystal. That's how it happened. I didn't think he would do it. And then he said he would want to do it. Hey, do you wear underwear every day? At least, I mean, most of us do. Now it's time to try something better. MeUndies has created the world's most comfortable underwear with a blend of fabric that is 3 times softer than cotton. This is a big-time upgrade, friends. And when you upgrade your undies game, everyone wins. Life feels better in MeUndies. That special fabric blend is called Modal. And it may be a funny word to say, but you won't be laughing when you feel it on your special parts. You know, those parts. You'll be feeling great. MeUndies has tons of colors and patterns from classic to bold to adventurous. Who doesn't want adventurous underpants? And it's the only brand that has matching pairs for men and women. Dual adventures. You could be an adventurous underwear duo. All orders in the U.S. and Canada ship for free. If you don't love your first pair, and you will, MeUndies will pay you back, and you can keep it for free. No questions asked. If you love them as much as I think you will, you might even get a monthly subscription. For a limited time, MeUndies is offering you 20% off your first order at MeUndies.com/WTF. Remember, if you don't love your first pair, it's free. Make sure you go to MeUndies.com/WTF to get 20% off your first order and use my link so they know we sent you. Dig it. Underpants. God, it's so pretty in New York right now. I used to live here, but now I just like being here for maybe 3 or 4 days. You get grimy, you eat good food, you get exhausted, and then you go away. Back to the cat ranch. All right. What do you say we spend some time with Billy Crystal, who just got back from a big tour of Australia and New Zealand, and he's in the process of bringing that show that he did there to America, so look out for that in the near future. This is me and Billy Crystal in the garage back in L.A.
I sort of fall in and out of love with stand-up.
Well, that's weird because when you were at Tisch was where you went, right?
Yeah.
When did you start stand-up? Was it your first passion?
Always was. But
it was?
It always was. I was from junior high school, even earlier than that. I was always the guy, elementary school, off book.
Yeah.
I just would,
Yeah.
I was always able to improvise in front of people. And
who were your comics that when you were a kid you were listening to? Because in my mind, you're part of a very important tradition.
Well, the great, because we had great television comics on, the real kind of heavy lifters. Phil Silver, Sid Caesar.
Yeah, right.
But Sid's voice was really the voice of Neil Simon.
Yeah.
And Mel.
Yeah, and Danny Simon.
And Larry Gelbart, rest his soul, amazing guy.
Yeah.
So that filtered through. There was an ethnicity to what Sid did in a very kind of subtle way that was fantastic to latch onto.
Yeah. Ethnicity being Jewish?
Yeah, but it wasn't overt. It wasn't the Borscht Belt. I was not a Borscht Belt guy at all.
Right. More physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sketches and character.
Right.
The guys that Sid did were like, Progress Hornsby was this stone jazz musician, and I knew the real guys, because my dad was in the music business.
What was he in the music business? Because he was a real guy, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What did he do?
My family owned a little record store on 42nd Street in New York, between Lexington and 3rd, called the Commodore Music Shop. And it was the center of jazz from the late 30s all the way up to when it closed in the late 50s.
So the important time. Coming out of swing into the new jazz.
Yeah, and the new jazz was really created on record by my uncle, who's a legendary producer named Milt Gabler.
Uh-huh.
Now, Milt turned my grandfather into a sort of an entrepreneur. So it was a music store where they sold radios and light bulbs, and cranky people would come in and what aisle are the socks in? Are there socks? Where are the whisk brooms? And so then he said, Dad, he was like working there after high school. So he took one of the speakers of the radio and put it over the transom of the door right on 42nd Street and tuned it into this jazz station that plays a lot of big Spiderback stuff.
Yeah.
And so the jazz was blasting out in the street.
Yeah.
People come in going, do you sell records here too? And they didn't. And my uncle said, well, we should sell records.
Right.
So they started buying up old records from what was it? OKEH records.
EH, yeah.
And reissuing them.
Uh-huh.
So then they created their own little label called the Commodore Jazz Label, because it was right down the street from the Commodore Hotel.
Okay.
On 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Which is now, I think, the Grand Hyatt or something.
Right.
Right near Grand Central
I remember
Station.
Colony Records.
Yeah, that was a big music
on
store,
Broadway,
too.
yeah.
But this little hole in the wall was like 9 feet wide.
Right.
Now becomes this. Everyone wants these records. So then my uncle says to his father, "Pop, why are we selling other people's records? Let's make our own."
Right.
And he starts producing jazz records and jazz concerts all over the
Like, who are the guys?
Oh my God! There is Eddie Condon, who was one of the great jazz guitar players of all time. Pee Wee Russell.
Yeah.
And that later evolved into Billie Holiday, and Billie did all of her original great records on the Commodore Jazz
with
label.
your uncle.
Yeah, which included Strange Fruit. And
how old were you with this?
I was not thought of until I come along in 1948.
Right.
Or on my MD page, 1957.
Yeah.
And, so my dad then marries into the family and takes over the store. Milt splits, goes to Decca Records.
Oh, this is your mother's side of the family?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So my mother's big brother was Milt.
Right.
Milt splits to Decca Records, where he has a 35 gold record career, including Rock Around the Clock, Red Roses for Blue Lady, Volare.
Were you close with him?
Oh, yeah. He was a mentor to me.
So he was around?
Oh, God, they all were.
In New York. Like Milt only worked from New York. So he's producing all that stuff, Rock Around the Clock.
Yeah, but then he'd fly to Germany. He was like the celebrity, you know, and I would sit at his feet because he did Sammy Davis's first gold record, which was... hey there, you with the stars in your eyes. That was from Pajama Game. So he talked to me about Sammy and said, watch him. He does a lot of things. Do a lot of things. Because he knew I had the shining. You know, he knew
Right. You want to be show business. So you're a kid like, what, 12, 11?
Oh, younger than that.
Oh,
5,
and you're
6.
going to shows and you're you're meeting everybody. So you feel that show business thing, like the backstage thing.
Well, then my dad's producing jazz concerts all over New York besides running the store.
Yeah.
So now, in order to be with him, and this is sort of was the basis of 700 Sundays, was we'd go to the clubs with him just to be with him.
Right.
Because weekends, it was Friday, Saturday night till 3 o'clock in the morning.
And he's hanging out with these are heavy cats.
Amazing, the greatest guys. Fats Waller, Willie the Lion Smith, Jack Teagarden, Pee Wee Russell,
did your
Henry
dad,
Red Allen.
Oh, yeah. Did your dad drink?
No.
So he was just a witness.
Yeah, well, he also emceed the shows.
Okay.
And that was another thrill because my dad's on stage behind a microphone and a spotlight. It was, in a shiny suit.
Was he funny?
It was cool. Yeah, very witty guy.
He was?
Yeah, very witty guy.
And your mom, was she?
My mom was the lifeblood of the family in that they were a remarkable pair. He was quiet and really witty. Great sense of humor. Turned us on to, in television, it was not the Three Stooges, it was Laurel and Hardy.
Right.
It was Ernie Kovacs. It's okay if you stay up late. I know you got a 4th grade test tomorrow.
Right.
Watch Kovacs.
Just watch the highbrow shit.
Watch what Phil Silvers does.
Yeah.
Big Phil Silvers fan. And it was a great influence. I had 2 older brothers, all very funny.
They around?
Yeah.
That's good.
And we would steal from everybody.
Sure.
So we were the Nairobi Trio.
Do impressions.
Yeah, we were the Nairobi Trio.
From Ernie Kovacs? Yeah.
So we were the 2,000-year-old. When that album came out, forget about it.
How old were you when that came out?
I was 12. Those are my baseball cards, Mark.
Mel Brooks, that album came out when you were 12?
1960.
No kidding.
Those are my baseball cards.
Yeah, right.
Those were, I love the music. I still love the jazz. But the comedy albums that Dad would bring home from the store, those were my baseball cards.
Right.
That was, that was amazing albums. It felt like Jonathan Winters had an album out every month.
Shelley Berman.
Yeah, and Nichols and May,
right.
Live on Broadway.
Yeah. Did he like any of those Yiddish guys, like Myron Cohen or anything?
He always laughed at Myron Cohen, but, because Myron Cohen, all of those guys were really artists.
Right.
They were so specific in who they were and who they played to.
Yeah.
And that's when the Catskills was at its height.
Yeah. Did you guys go up there?
Only once. Only once.
That was enough?
That was enough. Well, we didn't have any money. We're in the jazz business.
Right.
And that's where I saw my first comedian, which, watching this guy's act.
Who?
I think his name was Pat Henry.
Uh-huh.
And he was a bald guy, and he said, I grew my eyebrows really long so I could sweep them back over my head.
Uh-huh.
It was the stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, every Sunday night, in addition to the guys during the week, was Ed Sullivan. Sullivan had a comic on every Sunday night.
Did you ever go to the show?
No, but the comics were the heavy hitter guys and the novelty acts.
Yeah.
I loved the novelty
Plate
acts.
spinners?
But there was the guy.
There's usually 9 of them, weren't there? The novelty acts?
The Lady of Spain guy.
Yeah.
And the Weir Brothers were. You should watch them.
Yeah.
Google the Weir Brothers, folks who ever listen. I think they were Swedish or Norwegian. 3 guys with one had to play clarinet, one played guitar, one played violin or bass, and they were hilarious, physical. These were music hall performers.
Well, that's interesting about I was talking to a friend of mine about you and your style, that your physicality and your sense of physical timing is so right on. Like, it's a natural thing, but you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And I've always envied it because it is a natural thing. And once you learn how to do it, I imagine it's sort of addictive. But there is a moment where, to do takes, to do beats, to do physical stuff, it's a choice, right?
Yeah. And it also, when you're in front of an audience, it helps them see the joke if they don't hear it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's also that amazing beats that those guys took, like those pauses and the takes, and not many guys do it anymore.
No.
It's a lost art, but like when I watch, Analyze This, I guess I'm getting off the narrative, but
it's okay. It's the narrative.
Because there's a few scenes in Analyze This where I can watch them over and over again, and your reaction is so fucking classic and so hilarious that I like that scene where the him I don't know, that with the hugging, him I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I laugh thinking about it, but like you were so you were onto that, but it didn't come unresearched in a way.
No, but also it was a pretty natural thing for me.
Yeah.
It was a pretty natural thing for me. When you grow up with aunts and uncles who were very animated.
And in a very Jewish ethnic way.
Yes.
It's very specific.
Yeah, but it wasn't this kind of way. It wasn't that.
There must have been one of those.
There were 12 of them. But my apostles.
Yeah.
But everyone was very animated. They speak with their hands.
Yeah. Sure.
And a lot of times their hands were covered with salad dressing or macaroni salad or something, which is not attractive when they speak Yiddish.
Right. Did you grow up with Yiddish?
Russian.
Really?
Russian.
From who? Your grandmother?
Yeah, both of them Russian. And a lot of Yiddish after a while when they didn't want us to know what they were talking about.
Exactly. That's what my grandparents did.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What's this gibberish?
And
they're going to the movies.
They'd catch you out of the corner of their eye. So Max said to me, and you knew that there was something they didn't want you to hear.
Yeah. What, did you really just say something?
No.
I was hoping you did.
You know what's so funny
What?
about, listen, I love my religion. I love the world I was born into.
Right.
I'm not the most religious guy in the world, but I love the heritage of it.
Yeah.
I love the things that it stands for. And I've been very open about it. People will come up to me.
Yeah.
And it always makes me either laugh or get annoyed.
Yeah.
When they'll go, a total stranger.
Yeah.
So, Billy, how are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'll go, why are you talking like that? The guy goes, oh, I thought you might like that. I said, no, I don't. It's almost anti-Semitic.
They see you as a cultural representative of the Jewish type.
They see me and suddenly I'm in like a tallis and a yarmulke and the black hat and the Billy, so much the Yankees got enough pitching? I don't know.
Well, I think they're trying to connect.
Yes, they are. And I do. I get it. It always baffles me.
But the funny thing is you're familiar with that character.
Yeah.
You grew up with that. Like, it's because like I didn't, my grandparents were from Jersey and everything, and I grew up with that Jewish thing, and I've always been a fan of that comedy, and it's definitely in me.
Yeah.
I somehow, like, for years I fought against it.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't even mention I was a Jew on stage because I didn't know how to do it without going, how do you do it? Is there another way to do the Jew thing?
No. And I wasn't doing it.
No.
In my early stuff, I didn't do it. I started doing it on Soap.
Uh-huh.
The last year of Soap, Susan Harrison, who's an amazing writer, who created the show, brought on a young writer named Stu Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever know Stu?
No.
Stu was a great comedy writer. A fascinating story. As stereotypical Jewish comedy writer as you can imagine, except he was a young guy.
Right. I know guys like that. There are guys that are just born old men.
Yes.
They're born old Jews.
And he was a delightful guy.
Yeah.
And we came up with a storyline that my character Jody goes into hypnotherapy to figure out why he's attracted to women and so on. And he's confused.
I kind of remember this.
Yeah, and he takes me back in time. It was sort of like the search for Bridie Murphy.
I remember
and I become this old Jewish guy in my past, and I'm stuck. I can't get out of this guy. So here I am looking like I looked back in 1980.
Yeah.
But I talk like this, and I'm talking to my mother, Mary Campbell, and I'm teaching her about how God tests. God will test people. My first wife, I remember the lines.
Yeah.
Franya, a redhead.
Yeah.
She was raped by the Cossacks repeatedly, but since she looked like a pumpernickel bread, it was more of a test for the Cossacks. And then I started filtering into my stand-up, which I was doing a lot of them.
Yeah.
So that's where it sort of started.
But it's so funny because it's like it's somehow ingrained in us. I talked to I talked to Jeff Goldblum the other day, and it's somewhere in us. It's our history, and like those people are stereotypical or they're characters. But I had one. There was a woman, my grandmother's aunt used to sit she didn't speak any English, and they had to make her kosher food. Yeah. And she would sit on a plastic covered sofa and eat by herself at family events. I mean, it's just part of the thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Eastern European Jew thing.
Yeah. It's a brushstroke. And it shouldn't be denied because they're really kind of amazing people.
Oh yeah. And the language of comedy for years.
Yeah.
Sure. Was the timing of it.
The timing, the emphasis, the lean in. I adored Alan King.
Did you?
Yeah, we became great friends. We did a movie together where we played father and son. It was a very sweet movie called Memories of Me, and we became very close. And I would imitate him to him, not doing his voice, but just the lean in, because they want to make sure you hear them.
Yeah.
But he did it on the Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Folks, you can't see me, but I'm going to lean into the mic. It may get a little loud.
Yeah.
So this is no punchline. This is just what am I doing about that crabgrass?
Yeah.
And they lean towards you.
Yeah.
You almost, if you're in the first row, you just want to settle back just a little bit.
Well,
it's
that's interesting.
Like a 3D movie,
right? Well, that's interesting that it's crabgrass because he was really the first of the Jewish comics to do the middle class Jewish thing. That we're not shtetl people.
Right.
We're not pushing racks of clothes now. We're on Long Island.
Well, he was very wealthy.
Yeah.
Alan was different than the other comics of that time. He produced Broadway plays, movies, Line in Winter.
Yeah.
He had great taste. He was on the board of directors of Shenley, and he had this house.
Yeah.
That was Oscar Hammerstein's house in Great Neck.
Yeah, Great Neck.
And it was beautiful. It's right on the Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
And I know he had a huge ego. He bought it because it was on Kings Point. That's what it was called, Kings Point, and he was Alan King. And when my friends, I was the youngest of my graduating class. I didn't have a driver's license until my
From where, high school?
Yeah. We would drive to Alan King's house in Great Neck and look over the fence and see the Rolls Royce, the beautiful Tudor house. Yeah. And it was like, I would love to have that someday. We would whisper, he's a comedian, and look what he has. He can have a house like that. And then when I was little, he came into an Italian restaurant in my hometown.
Yeah. Which was?
Long Beach, Long Island.
Yeah.
And there was a hotel that had this big showroom. And everybody worked there. I saw Sammy Davis Jr. there, and
the dinner club, right?
It was a big hotel and a big supper club.
Yeah.
And Alan came into this little restaurant, and we actually wrote this into Mr. Saturday Night, where Ron Silver, playing the director, tells me of the entrance he saw me make in a restaurant.
Right.
And Alan, he had just come from the show.
Yeah.
He had a mohair suit on, a white shirt, beautiful white tie, white on white. I must have been 9.
Yeah.
And he came in, and everybody applauded. And he glided into the room, and I had recognized him from the Sullivan Show.
Right.
And, we were very modest people. Sunday night was the one night we could eat out.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and I ran up to him, and I said, Mr. King, I think you're fantastic. And he looked at me, and he said, whoa, look what just fell out of my nose. And I thought it was like getting an autograph from Mickey Mantle. It was like he insulted me. It was so great. And we put that into the movie.
With no malice.
No.
Yeah.
Alan was amazing. I'm so blessed to, that's one of the fringe benefits, Mark, of what we do. My grandfather used to say, if you hang around long enough, sooner or later they'll give you stuff.
Yeah.
The people we get to meet and end up with and become part of their lives is for me, at this point in my life and my career, kind of, I look back and smile going, holy shit.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's wild. I mean,
when did you so you're 9, you're watching Sullivan, you're doing all this stuff, you're doing shtick in school, and your brothers, did they end up in show business in any way?
My middle brother, I'm the youngest. He's 2 years older. My brother Rip has been a producer, a television producer for years out here.
Yeah.
And my older brother Joe was an art teacher for 36 years, really funny, great witty guy. And he's retired now. Yeah. So you have a creative family. You have a family that's open-minded, at least, enjoys show business. Oh, big time, and big civil rights people. And on top of that, my mom was a great tap dancer.
Oh yeah,
and she was the voice of Minnie Mouse in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades in the late 30s. She would sit in the float as it came down and would sing this. It would usually "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles." To this huge float, coming down
inside the float.
Yeah, inside the float. There was a little cabin or whatever at the base of Minnie's feet, and no one would see her. And there'd be a little piano, and she'd sing. I
think that's so fun. Yeah, because there's something that keeps sticking with me is that, even in Mr. Saturday Night, and because of the way you were brought up, that weird difference between the show person and backstage or in the float, to really appreciate that, which it sounds like you must have, because you're sitting there, you're going to these gigs with your father, and you're seeing these jazz guys, and they're just sitting around smoking, before the show or doing whatever, and then they go on. It's like, all right, I'm on. There's a weird kind of the appreciation for show business when you feel that.
Yes, and not only that, there's a the word destiny is different than fate.
Right.
Destiny is more important. Fate is by chance.
Right.
Destiny means it was meant to be.
Sure. And
when I think about getting up on stage in front of 700 people when I was 5 years old and tap dancing to, this Conrad Janis and the Tailgaters, a great Dixieland band, not having any fear, just wanting to be up there, moth to the flame, you know, and being endorsed and supported by my folks. It wasn't like, why did you go up there? You're not supposed to do that. Yeah. They loved it.
Yeah.
And nobody pushed me. They just knew that I had to sort of do this. Yeah. I was sort of I was a rain Jew.
Yeah.
I was rain Jew in the back of in my house, writing jokes, watching comics, loving it. Couldn't wait to get up on stage.
You love it.
Loved it. I still do.
But I like that idea, the idea of that, loving it, because I just personally, and obviously we're different people and have different careers, but, I sort of I needed to be a comic because I had something to say. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. So taking the love, I would fight it. I was that kind of comic where, it's going to be a little tough at first for us. But
you may not love me right away. Yeah,
exactly. But you you just took it and you felt it, and it was great.
Yes. But I also had a little mantra.
Yeah.
Which was, don't settle in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Stay vigilant.
Yes. Don't get too relaxed, man. It's
mine used to be hide the hate.
Well, that's a little more...
it is dramatic. Similar, I think. No?
No. Hide the hate. That's a great album title.
Yeah.
Or a book title.
Yeah. All right. I'll make note of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I realize that, in the last few years, I miss you as the host of the Oscars because you love show business.
I do.
It's this is a night for show business. Celebrate show business, you fuck. Yeah. Whoever you fuck is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never thought I'd have a moment where I'm I miss Billy dancing. But
the thing is, I didn't really dance.
But you did. You moved.
I did. Yeah. Oh, I moved for sure, and we entertained.
Right.
Because that's what it was about.
It was just, because that's what it is about.
It's supposed to be.
Everybody knows too much now, and I'm not even that old to say that.
No, it's true, and social media really hurts that a lot.
Sometimes, it's like everybody's on this equal playing field. It's like, no, no. I want some privacy. I'd like the mystery to be maintained a bit, if possible.
Yes, and I don't need to hear from Jack 59 in whatever town it is that he hates me.
Yeah,
because Alan had a great line about that, which was surrounded by assassins.
But he was talking about other comics.
Maybe.
So when did you decide to sort of pursue it like in earnest? Like how did that?
When I got out of the draft.
69?
The first draft, televised draft. I was a directing major at NYU, studying film direct. I don't
really?
know. I still don't know why I did that. I swear to God, I had been in nothing but musicals and plays.
In high school?
In high school and college.
You went to college. This is the graduate school you're talking about?
No, I went 2 years. I went to a school in West Virginia first, called Marshall University.
How was that?
It was, I went 1 year. I had a good time. I was a baseball player, and it didn't work out for me there, and I transferred.
Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, and I came home. My father just passed away. I was
young, huh?
I was very 54.
Oh.
I was 15. So I was really depressed, and I go away, and West Virginia was a little too off Broadway for me.
Yeah.
And I was lonely, and
you're a city kid.
And I didn't give it the best chance I could give it, I think.
And you're in grief, and you're alone now.
And it was first time away from home, and and I was 17.
Must have been horrible. And
I couldn't even drink. I couldn't even drink with the guys and do any stuff like that. So I came home that summer. And I had a job in a day camp.
Jewish day camp?
No.
Regular.
Yeah. And this girl walks by. I'm on the beach playing ball with this good friend, Stevie Cohut.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready for go back to school. And she walks by, and I said, I'm going to marry her. And I did. So 4 years later, and so I didn't go back to school. I transferred to this junior college
to be around her.
Yeah, I knew if it was, I loved her so much right away.
Yeah,
that I don't know if you've ever been in like a long distance relationship.
Sure,
they don't work out.
No, it's easier now with Skype, but but back then difficult. Yeah,
and so I said, not going to go back.
Yeah,
and I transferred to this great junior college called Nassau Community College, and had one elective, which was an acting 101 program. Yeah. And I walked in there, and it was like, I'm home.
No kidding.
Yeah, great teacher.
You remember the guy?
His name was George Oliver. Interesting man. I loved the students, started doing stuff, started doing scenes, and I just gave it for 2 years. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Then I transferred.
No stand-up yet?
No.
Yeah.
But I met these two guys who were actors, and we started doing improvs together. I would have just done stand-up, but I was terrified.
Right.
So I had these two guys, and we had this really fun act.
Who were those guys?
There's Dave Hawthorne and Al Finelli. And we became known as We the People, and then we became known as Three's Company. We had more names than really good routines, which was two. So now I transfer to NYU, and I get in. I don't know why, Mark. I applied as a directing major. I didn't go into the acting program.
You don't know why?
I still don't know why. I used to make little home movies and stuff, you know, and I liked being...
Did you think maybe it was a better job?
I thought maybe I was very practical.
Right.
That if the acting thing didn't work out, I had something solid like directing to fall back on. So I get to NYU.
Yeah.
And who's my film professor of the production class? A graduate student named Martin Scorsese.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So this is what, 70 what?
This is 68.
68.
68. I'm living in the East Village with my best friend David Sherman. We're still the closest of friends, and we had this little apartment on East 5th Street next to the police station. And the reason the police station is important, it was on the wide shot of the police station on Kojak. You can see my apartment.
Oh yeah. And he pointed to that a lot.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
And, you show me your Miles Davis records. Miles would get busted every week because he'd be coming down to the Lower East Side to look for drugs.
Score, yeah.
Yeah, and his red Ferrari would be out front of our apartment building.
Right.
And he'd be yelling at this red-haired detective named Sergeant Fink. And he'd be yelling at him, "Motherfucker, why'd you keep give me the phone?" And he said, "Miles, don't be coming down here no more. Don't be coming down looking for drugs. What are you, stupid? What are you, stupid?"
You saw this?
Oh, yeah, we see him all the time. Yeah, so that was 68, 9, and 70.
6th Street.
East 5th.
East 5th between...
325 East 5th Street.
Between 1st and 2nd?
1st and 2nd, yeah. And now, Vietnam's raging. It was the greatest place to live was the East Village then. It was so extraordinary. The Fillmore East was there.
Was that 3rd? 4th?
No, this was right on 6th Street and 2nd Avenue. Yeah.
I lived on 2nd between A and B in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was right next door. That's why I saw my first movie, was that theater. My dad did these concerts at a place called the Central Plaza, which was 111 2nd Avenue, which is now an NYU building.
Right. Is that the film archive? It was a movie theater?
It was a movie theater called, originally it was called the Lowe's Commodore. Ironically, it had the Commodore name in it.
Yeah.
And it became the Fillmore East.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's where, everybody played.
Oh, everybody.
Oh, it was amazing.
But for Great Hendrix, the Band of Gypsies record.
Yeah, Zappa, everybody played. And the East Village then was so exciting to be part of, but our country at that point was in the middle of natural childbirth.
Yeah.
It was all this screaming, all this yelling.
Yeah.
We hated this war. We hated Nixon. We hated what was happening. And I mean, LBJ knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will not seek, nor will I accept a nomination. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Because he could see what was happening. And now we're faced with this, and suddenly, kids today have no. And now I sound like Alan.
And you're like 20?
Let's see. I was 20.
Yeah.
Now I'm
sound like Alan King. Yeah.
Yeah, this kid. But nobody today. Were you exposed to the draft?
No, I'm 52.
Oh, so there was you got a selective service card.
Yeah.
And they told us that they're going to have, as the war was heating up, that we're having this televised draft, which was a Powerball, basically. 365 birthdays, ping pong balls.
You doing really?
Put into a machine, live on television, and as they came out, if you were in the first 200, you had a report right away, and you more than likely were going to go to Vietnam. And listen, for those of us who didn't believe in the war, this was a terrifying thing. For those who made their choice, I totally respect that. I had no idea why I cared about the M. Vin Phu. I didn't. If they were in Jersey, then okay, sign me up.
Or if they were bombing Jersey,
then sign me
up.
But I didn't. What did we care about that?
Right.
It made no sense to us. Much like this war that we've been in for 12 years now doesn't make any sense either. 15 years.
Yeah.
So it was on television.
Sure.
So
it was like the anti-lottery.
Yeah.
You didn't want to win.
No.
Right.
First 200, you're gone.
Yeah.
So I had this production class, right? This television production class, right? This at NYU.
Yeah.
So I think it came on at 7 or 8 o'clock, whatever it was. And we were able to watch like the first 50 names. I'm not in the first 50 balls.
Yeah.
The tension, it spins, and the ball comes out. April 3rd.
So it was just birthdays.
Just birthdays. April 3rd. Next one. March 2nd. Yeah. August. Can you imagine? Your life is being decided by some guy in a uniform pulling these balls out of a machine.
No music to this.
No. We'll be right back with the draft. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
So now I'm not in the first 50. All right. I got a chance here.
Yeah.
And I run home, and I run to the place on 8th Street called the Gem Spa. Remember the Gem Spa on 2nd Avenue?
Oh, wait, they have the egg creams?
Yeah, and those little chocolate raspberry things.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, look, when you were stoned, that's where you wanted to go.
No, I think it's still there.
It is there.
Yeah, they make the egg creams still.
Yeah, so I run up there. I run across town from Washington Square Park thinking I'm not in the first 50. I'm not in the first 50. How many balls have been pulled since that I left? You know?
Yeah.
The New York Times hits the pavement. I mean, it was like a Scorsese cut of a movie. Boom! I'm like, and that's up to 112. Still not by the time they went to print. No, I run back to my apartment, run up the stairs. And I call my mother. Mom, are you watching the lottery? No, dear. There's a Bonanza has a 2-hour special. Hoss got bit by a snake, and he has. Good. Boom. Now I'm watching the Joe Franklin Show, a guy I would end up imitating on SNL, and one of the most, I think it was one of the first ticker tapes on television, came through at the bottom with the numbers. So now I see I'm not in 112 to 175.
Right.
I'm not in 175 to 220. I don't get called until 354. And that's how I got out of going into the Army.
So they literally went through the whole year?
Yeah, 365 days.
And it was just the order?
Yeah. So I was 354. I never had to take a physical. I never had anything like that. I was out. So
you won the lottery.
I won the lottery and went into show business with my two friends, Al and Dave. We formed this act.
Yeah.
And we started doing improvs and fake improvs and sketches and stuff.
At places?
And we started on a it was our vaudeville.
Yeah.
It was called the Coffee House Circuit.
Yeah.
And we would get $150 each, but you'd be there 3 days. Yeah. And you'd live in a dorm.
No kidding. So you were traveling.
You were traveling, yeah. So we were on the road in my little Volkswagen, usually. Not that it's a big Volkswagen. It was my Volkswagen, and with Dave and Al, and we had a great time.
What were those rooms? What were the rooms in New York that you would play?
We ended up at the bitter end. Right. Which was great. There was...
in the context at that time, so you had the committee was around. There was a precedent for improv.
Ace Trunking Company. Yeah. Ace Trucking was really good. Fred Willard was in Ace Trucking. Yeah. The committee, that was more of a West Coast thing. Yeah. And we were really funny. We did it like a Mike Douglas show, and we did, You did? Yeah, but it was hard to break through with three guys. And I was there 4.5 years with them.
Really? So you were in you were in show business?
I was in show business, yeah. And not making any money. I mean, the most I made was like $4,000 a year.
Were you the feature act, or you the headline act, or
we'd be the opening act, right? And sometimes we would headline. But at the colleges, we were always the featured act, right? And there'd always be a folk singer, and us in what they, it was called the Coffee House Circuit. Right. So every campus had a thing after 8 o'clock. The cafeteria became the nightclub,
the Beatniks.
Yeah. And that's where we worked. Huh. But I was already married in 1970. Wow. So for me,
you got to make a living.
Yeah, and I was substitute teaching.
Yeah.
At the school I went to, which was weird. Being
on Long Island?
Yeah, in Long Beach, in the junior high.
That's where you were living?
But I was living in the house I grew up in. Upstairs, there was like a separate.
This is after the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
So wait, we didn't linger on Scorsese. So you got this hyperactive graduate student teacher?
Oh my God, he would stand behind you, and we were working. There was film then.
Yeah.
So you got white gloves on. There was a machine called a moviola.
Yeah.
The moviola had the film on one spool and your sound on the other spool, and you synced them up. Yeah. And they'd run through a machine. Right. And you couldn't touch it. You had white gloves, and if you wanted to make an edit, you'd stop with the brakes, put a grease mark on your cut, take a razor blade, make the cut, take the tape, make the edit, go to the sound, hear the sound, make the edit, and he'd stand behind you. Yeah. He had this big beard. Yeah. And why did you make that cut? I don't understand. Why would you do that? Why would you make that cut? Howard Hawks would make that cut. I said, Howard Hawks isn't a student here. And every time I see him, I ask him the same question. Why did you give me a C? Yeah. We're making little movies. But he was amazing. Yeah.
Do you have any of those movies? Do you remember? Did you?
I have them.
How are they?
They're basically silly. Uh-huh. There was, just.
Yeah. But did you feel like you learned something there?
I did. I learned basics of Staging, the camera dictionary
of actually directing.
Of who stands where and how would you come around
right,
the side.
Right.
That basic stuff.
Coverage.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you're living on Long Island. You substitute teaching.
Yeah.
You're in a three-guy act.
Right, and I'm getting
you have
weary.
kid yet?
1973.
Okay.
So I'm getting weary.
Yeah.
And I'm getting anxious.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm hiding.
Yeah. Hiding.
So what
do you mean? Like you just you're protected by the other guys.
Yeah.
And you're not really going in for the big game.
And we're it's lonely at the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get noticed just by chance.
Yeah.
We're up at a record company called Buddha Records.
Yeah. Cat Stevens, I think.
Yeah. And we were trying to do an album. Mm-hmm. We were going to do a very...
Because like Cheech and Chong's made a record already, and it's big on college radio.
Yeah.
Right.
And...
Uncle Dirty.
We're working...
Remember that guy?
Bob Altman.
Yeah.
And we were working on this album with his two young producers there. And we were, the act was good.
Yeah.
And we were auditioning to open for Sha Na Na.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing our act, I swear, in a conference room, the three of us doing our bits for one guy.
Yeah.
And Ed Sommerfeld, I think his name is. And he says, "Do you guys know who Buddy Moore is?" I go, "No." He said, "He's Robert Klein's manager." And they were the Jack Rollins, Charlie Jaffe office, which was the best office.
Sure.
Because they had Woody Allen, Dick Cavett. And I'm going to bring him in.
Buddy Moore.
Yeah. So he brings in Buddy, and we do our stuff for him all alone in this room, and he doesn't laugh. He smiles a couple of times and says, "Okay, let me see what we can do." So and so. So he gets us in a couple little rooms in New York, so on and so forth. And I know that it's not happening, but we're in the mix in his office a little bit.
Right.
He then, with a great man who just sadly passed away, Larry Bresner, come to me and they said, "Have you ever thought about doing stand-up?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Because the act isn't going anywhere. We don't think that it's
they pulled you aside."
Yeah.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll be there for you, and we'll work with you right from the beginning if this is what you want to do, because we think you could be a stand-up comic. So I went, "Oh, my God."
Yeah.
I said, "Let me think about this."
Yeah.
Now I know I have a support group.
Right. A big one.
Yeah. So I'm home, and I was Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Janice went back to work.
Yeah.
She's now working at the college that I went to. She's assistant dean of theater at Nassau Community College.
How'd you feel about that?
Listen, it was what you had to do.
Sure.
And,
she had faith in you, though?
Yes, because this is one who said to me, "You can do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to work. You figure this out, and I'm there for you." And we had a baby who was 6 months old, and she said, "This is important for you."
So this is 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get a call from a friend at NYU. His name is Ira Sardi. And he said, "Hey, listen, do you know a comedian who could do like 15 minutes in front of the folk singer at the ZBT house on Friday? We're having a party." And
it's my dad's frat. Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah. First gig.
He said, "Well, when did you start doing stand-up?" "Oh, no, I've been doing it for a while." Lying my ass off as I'm feeding my baby.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, yeah, great. It's Friday night. If you get there like at 7, go on at 8, 8:15, 8:20, you're done. And then the folk singer. Great. And it's like $25. I went, "Great." Like, boom.
Yeah.
I hung up and I went, "What the hell did I just do?"
Yeah.
So I called up Buddy Moore. I said, "Buddy, listen, I booked myself into a fraternity party. It's Friday night.
Yeah.
It's $25, and I don't think I should pay you commission." He said, "Great, give me the information." So I said where it was on Mercer Street, and so now I start putting together stuff.
Yeah.
And I threw this in, I threw that in, so I was doing co-selling Ali a little bit with the act. We used to do this Wide World of Sports thing, and I would do so. I had I had about 2 minutes, maybe 3. It's a couple other things I threw together. I did the Wizard of Oz in a minute. The premise was the film's been on so much television, it's all spliced up, and so it's.
Did you do that bit for years? Was that? Yeah.
So I get to the fraternity. It's pouring rain. It's like horrible out.
Yeah.
I get to the fraternity house. They were all sitting there and smoking pot and all this stuff. And I see the stage, and I'm like panicked. I think how much time can I really do here?
Right.
And Ira comes over and goes, "Listen, can you stretch?" What do you mean? He said, "Well, because the folk singer just called. He's stuck in traffic with this rain.
Yeah.
Can you stretch?" I said, "You mean go from 3 to 3.5 minutes?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll do it." As we're talking about this, and I'm getting more worried, in walks Buddy Moore, Larry Bresner, Jack Rollins himself.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. They all come to this place.
Stand in the back of their suits?
Yeah. With the wet raincoats and umbrellas and stuff. And,
hats.
Yeah. And they introduce me. I go on. Mark, I don't know where it came from. I did an hour and 20.
Come on.
I swear, I still don't even remember what I did. I just went. It was a belch. It was a vomit of epic comic proportions because it was all of that frustrated time with the group just came out.
Right.
And
Rollins loves that, right? He likes when you push it out there.
I just went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they stood up. And the folk singer then arrived, and he sang "May the Circle Be Unbroken," and then it was a nice night. And they came up to me afterwards. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Janice is crying, and Buddy says to me, "All right, listen, that stunk, so let's go to work."
Did he say that?
Yeah.
But you were getting laughs?
I was killing.
Yeah.
I swear I don't remember what I did.
Right, but I bet you at that time they were sort of seeing the new comics come out, and I imagine that you were probably doing some crowd work and stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But it was like it was like a miracle.
It was beautiful.
It was great.
Yeah,
and then
you knew you could do it.
Yeah,
like if your first weird gig out, you somehow did an hour and a half. You're like, okay. It's just trimming now.
And yeah. And now I go, oh man, I cheated on my friends. They had no idea.
Right.
And now I know I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
With them.
Oh, you got to do that talk.
And now I got to tell them what I did.
Yeah.
And they were my best friends, and it was 4.5 years of stuff together.
Yeah.
And living on the road in dorms together and all that stuff. It was more than just being an act together.
Yeah. No, sure.
And I told them, and they were shocked that I did it, but they went, "Good for you."
No kidding.
I said, "Guys, I love you.
Yeah.
I really do. I got an 18-month-old baby that's sleeping in there. I got to do this, and I'm going to do it."
Yeah.
And we had one gig coming up.
Right.
Opening for Melissa Manchester at the bitter end. And she was hot like crazy.
Yeah.
Coming from the rain, and she had good songs.
Yeah.
And a great performer. If nothing comes from that, I'll give you that last gig. It's already booked, and I want to do that with you. Then I'm gone.
Yeah.
And now it's sold out. It's like a perfect setup for us.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming, record people.
Right.
It's TV people coming to see her, and we were killing. And I'm saying to myself, please, nobody buy us.
Yeah.
Nobody book us for anything, please. No, don't. And they didn't, and then that was it. And I just...
Did those two guys stay in show business?
David did. David is still really funny.
Yeah.
I saw him pretty recently. I hadn't seen him for years and years and years. And I still love the guys. And Al lives in New Mexico. But...
Really? What's his name?
Al Finelli. And he's a playwright now and a photographer and
stayed in the arts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just went.
Yeah.
I left them that night. The next night, I'm at Catch a Rising Star.
At the beginning, so it was 74?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Hoping to get on.
You're just waiting?
Yeah.
Was Rick Newman there?
Rick was great to me because he knew that I lived over an hour outside of Manhattan and that I had a baby. And so he knew my gig.
Yeah.
So he tried to get me better times. But I was so fertile.
Yeah.
I just wrote my ass off. And very quickly, I had a really good 20 minutes to begin with.
Mostly impression driven?
Some a little bit, but and it's an interesting story, and that I'll get to in a second. But because I'd come to catch, and I'd get on at maybe 1, and I'd be done 1:20, and then you hang out for a second.
Who the hell was going on before you at that time?
Eddie Bluestone, Richard Lewis, Andy Kaufman, Belzer was the MC, Freddie Prinze,
right.
Leno, and then David Brenner would come in and do an hour.
Right. Wait. Were you going over to Bud's place too?
No, because it was too far west for me.
Right.
So because Catch was on the east side, I could get out of Manhattan
in the 70s,
fast.
right? 78th or something, and then 44th and like 8th and 9th. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could get out of town fast.
Right. Yeah.
It was really about that.
Yeah.
I didn't become a devoted improv guy till I moved to California.
Right.
Because to me, it was just a great room.
Yeah.
The Improv on Melrose.
The original one,
Yeah, it was great.
And here,
So then I'd get home by 3, up at 6. Chance had to leave for work at 7.
Got the baby.
Then I got the baby. So that was my life, I did that for like 2 years.
Every night at Catch.
Every night.
Did he eventually move down on the roster a bit?
Yeah. Pretty quickly. I started working pretty quickly, which was great. And my first big gig. Well, I should back up.
Yeah.
I'm doing really good, and I'm feeling like my purpose in life is being fulfilled.
Right.
It was a really romantic, fantastic time for all of us. And Rollins comes to see me for the first time since
the frat house. Yeah.
And he wanted to wait till I had marinated a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was hearing all of this stuff, and I was really doing good stuff.
Yeah.
And I know he's coming, and we're going to talk afterwards. So Jack he looked like the Jewish Duke Ellington.
He had the big eyebrows.
But the big bags under his eyes, and always a little stub of a cigar, and tons of dandruff. They're almost like epaulets on his suit. He looked like a Brooklyn College English professor or something.
Yeah. I met him once when he was very old.
Yeah. And he lived to 100.
Yeah.
And I just destroyed. I had 20 minutes of just boom. And I was doing Only Then. I was doing a bunch of other stuff that were more bits.
Yeah.
And I crunched.
Yeah.
So we go out afterwards. And I sit down, and I'm full of myself.
Yeah,
but you know that feeling when you just had just a beauty.
Yeah.
It's like a great. It's like you can walk in your own sweat for a while. It's good.
Can't sleep.
Yeah, it's just, so exciting.
Let's eat.
Yeah. So Jack's looking at me, and he spits a little bit of the cigar thing.
Yeah.
How did you think you did tonight?
Oh.
No, I know I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And I go, well, the audience was great.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. And now I feel like I want to stab him.
Yeah, because he's just not saying anything.
And he goes, yeah, Bill, I didn't care for it. And I'm going, why?
Yeah.
And I go, really, why? And I'm trying so hard not to leap across the table.
Yeah.
You didn't leave a tip. I go, what do you mean? He said, you did a lot of bits. I call them toys and games.
Uh-huh.
There was all bits, but the audience had no idea about who you were when you left the stage. You didn't leave a tip, that little extra something that you leave because it was good.
Yeah.
They said, so they know. I like the guy who did the thing. No, he's a nice man. That's important.
Right.
You didn't leave a tip. You never once said I.
Yeah.
I think, I feel.
Yeah.
You know what bothers me?
Yeah.
You never said that.
Any of it.
I know what Ali thinks.
Yeah.
I know what this guy thinks.
Yeah.
I know what Mr. Rogers
Yeah.
does. These are bits that,
Yeah.
So, you're working too safe.
Huh.
You have to be ready and be prepared to bomb. You have to know what that feels like in order to grow. These are like Talmudic, huge things to lay on a 25-year-old's,
stand-up who just killed.
And who's 6 months just past substitute teaching, who's feeling like, oh my God, my future's happening.
Yeah.
And it was gigantic. But it totally changed my perception about what I was going to do. He said, so come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know these things can work.
Yeah.
And we can sprinkle them in as we go.
Right, right.
But for your own personal welfare on stage, don't do any of this tomorrow. You're married, right? Yes. Talk about that. You're a young man, you're married. That's unusual.
Yeah.
You have a baby? Yes. Talk about that. Look at you. Who else has a baby?
Yeah.
Eddie Bluestone doesn't have a baby.
Yeah.
Belzer will never have a baby. Well, look at that. You have it, you know. Talk about that. And I went home. I didn't sleep. I'm up all day with Jenny the next day, who's now the mother of two herself, and I'm writing stuff about being the only man in the playgroup. Yeah. You know, right. Being the only, and it gave me an identity. Talk about how she was born. I did a piece about natural childbirth in 1974. Yeah. You know, that's what I was, and he pointed me in the right direction, and any young person who comes up to me and asks me about that, I tell them that story. Yeah. Be prepared to bomb. Yeah. We're so.
And did you?
Oh, yeah. But till you find your way.
Right.
Till you find your way.
Right.
And then I learned, if I could experiment with that, but I need that thing to end with. Yeah. So then an act starts to develop.
Sure. Always got Ali.
Yeah. I got that, and then you throw in this and throw in that, and then suddenly you know. But it was the approach. Right. It was the approach that was so amazing. And when Jack was 100, this was last year. He died shortly after, and I hadn't seen him in years. And I always kept in touch with him. I always called him. But he was such a wisdom-filled, menschy man. Yeah. So wise, you know. He was my Yoda that way. And the company had fallen apart, had broken up, and I wasn't with him anymore. And you know, Robin, rest his soul, and I were like... We were like the children of the divorce when Rollins and Jaffe broke up. And, well, who do we go with? We love Jack, but we love Buddy, and we also love David Steinberg, the manager.
That's who you end up with, right?
Yeah. And Larry. Yeah. So I didn't get Jack as much as I wanted to. I go to see him in New York, and he's 100 years old. Yeah. And we're sitting there, and my series, The Comedians, was gonna debut that night. And I was in town doing press and stuff like that. So I program his VCR with his helper, his caregiver. And he was in and out, and I knew I had to get out of there. Yeah. It was getting emotional for me. And we both knew it was the last time we were probably going to see each other. Yeah. And I said, so Jack, 10 o'clock tonight, it's all set up. If you miss it, you'll see it in the morning. Yeah. So don't worry, it's all done. And I love seeing you, and I love you. He grabbed my hand, and he says, are you happy with your work on the show? Do you feel good about what you did on the show? I said, yes, very much so. He says, that's most important, because they can never take that away from you. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It was like so amazing. Yeah. You know, and I carry that around with me, you know. I've been fortunate to have had good guidance. Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
It's really amazing.
Jack was amazing. He was an amazing guy.
Amazing.
And
it's a beautiful moment,
Yeah, great stuff.
And so when does how does soap happen? How does the first break happen?
I come out here and
you move here.
Did not move here originally right away. We had a night at this was interesting. I had a night at the Comedy Store. I was traveling on the road with Melissa Manchester. I was her opening act then.
And that was a great gig for a comic at that time.
It's fantastic. Yeah. But it was kind of cool. You lived on the bus.
Do 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. Sold out crowds. Yeah. You know, nothing on my head. Yeah. And came down to L.A., which was intoxicating. Mm-hmm. L.A. back in the 70s was like amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, well, you could be on Sunset Boulevard and smell the orange blossoms in the valley. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like it was different.
More intimate business.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. And exciting, and stuff was happening. Yeah. So they have a night, the office sets up a night for me at the Comedy Store. Everybody comes. Yeah. I mean, it was insane.
In the main room, the big room.
No, the original I don't think they didn't have the main room yet.
Oh, it wasn't open yet. So it was the little box room. There.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look out, and there's Jim Brooks, and there's Carl Reiner, and there's Norman Lear, and there's all these things. And it went really well. Yeah. It went really well. Yeah. And now I'm meeting all of these guys. It's like being in a Yankee locker room.
Yeah.
And I go home to New York. Norman Lear calls me at home himself.
Uh-huh.
I so enjoyed you the other night. I'm like, yeah? We have a part on All in the Family. You play Mike's best friend. He's going to get married on the show at Mike's house. It's a pretty good episode, and I thought, would you come out and would you think about doing this? Would I come out? Would I think about doing this? Yes, Mr. Lear, of course. And Norman, Norman.
Yeah. Next
day, I'm on a plane. I'm coming out. I'm doing All in the Family.
Is that the first time you met Rob?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm cast as his best friend. It was the week after the Stivic baby had been seen on All in the Family.
Okay.
Right, Sally and Mike's baby. So it was a huge audience, like 49 million people saw like a medium show.
Yeah.
And no Archie.
Yeah.
No Edith. It was me and Rob and Sally, and I ended up getting married on the show. But it's a funny episode, but we had to play best friends, and it sort of stuck right away.
Yeah.
And we said, listen, it was good on the show, so let's just keep going with this.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's remained to this day.
Yeah. So I saw you with him. That's when I last saw you at the Shandling Memorial with Rob.
Yeah. So it was that was a big break. And then Paul Witt, Tony Thomas, Susan Harris call us. They saw me in the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And they were doing the series, and they offered me this part to play Jody Dallas, this gay director of commercials, as part of this big ensemble. I had one line. The pilot was an hour. There were 2 half hours put together as a pilot. I had one line in the pilot, but the second episode, I had this great episode with my mother where I'm in her clothes, and she catches me, and we talk about. She sees me and she goes, "Why? Get out of my..." "Oh, you wear it belted." And it was smart, and I met with them, and it was a great pedigree. It was Jay Sandrich, who was one of the best television directors, Mary Tyler Moore Show. And Susan, I just thought she was a genius and amazing writer.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay.
And it was a groundbreaking show.
Groundbreaking show, and I thought, all right, well, but wait a second. This is 1976 when the pilot was. America was a lot different. It wasn't as tolerant. I said, but I have my stand-up.
Yeah.
But you'll always have that. You'll so I didn't want to be the gay guy from Soap. I still wanted my own identity.
Yeah, Billy Crystal.
I just was starting to really get what's being on stage. It was getting better and better.
Yeah. Was SNL happening yet?
No.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, the show had been on.
Yeah.
And
were you up for that?
I was bumped from the very first show.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were bumped from the first, but how long were you mad at Lorne Michaels?
A long time, but I understood it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
At that time, you understood?
I didn't understand it because of how it was told to me.
Yeah.
About what went down.
Mm-hmm.
The Friday night before was a dress rehearsal.
I'm sorry.
No, I know.
It was
Friday night was a dress rehearsal, and Lorne had been coming to the clubs, and he loved what I did, and he liked my did, and he signed me to the first show, and
all right. Yeah.
We had this deal in NBC with like six appearances on SNL over,
Yeah.
And then then I'd become like the first non-celebrity host,
right?
Which is what he was talking about at the time.
This is all on paper.
Yeah. So we come to the first show. And it's George Carlin is the host, and there's 2 musical guests, Billy Preston, Janice Ian, and I knew everybody in the cast, because they were coming to see me at the bitter end and stuff, John and Gilda and everybody. Friday night we have the run through for the network and a full audience, and my thing just killed.
Yeah,
but it ran like 5.5, 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So now we have notes afterwards, and Lauren says, "And Billy, I need 2 minutes." I said, "You need me to take out 2 minutes?" "No, I need 2 minutes. Total. That's all. We're running very long." And I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And throw in the fact I'm 25 years old, 26 years old.
Yeah.
How could my thing killed? It really was one of the stronger pieces in the show, if not the strongest piece. Wow. Now I got to call everybody. I got to call back Buddy. I got to call Jack. and I'm on at 5-1. I'm in the dungeon spot, and I more than likely I'm gonna get dropped.
Yeah.
Because the show was running long. Anyway, so
and it's live, so you're waiting.
Yeah. So now we'll go. They're in the room with Lorne. They're going back. Lorne had other things to worry about. He's got the premiere of a network show.
Yeah.
I understood that, and Belzer's doing the warm up, and Buddy and Jack come out and says, "Come on, we're going." What happened? Well, he won't do what we want him to do. It's. I didn't have any other material to do.
Right.
I didn't have a 2-minute hunk.
Yeah.
Andy had Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Right. So he had this amazing little piece.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I was too new.
Right.
So, I think the office asked for 5 minutes in the first hour.
Yeah.
At least have us in the first hour. And he'll take out whatever he has to take out. And he couldn't guarantee it.
Yeah.
And so, I ended up leaving.
Right.
And it was horrible.
Yeah.
Feeling, because I knew that it was going to be groundbreaking.
Right.
It had to be.
Right.
And so that was that was bad.
Yeah, that was yeah.
I came back the next year. Lorne brought me back. I was on the show that Ron Nessen hosted, who was Gerald Ford's press secretary.
Yeah, right.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
And I was on that show.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do it again for 8 years until I hosted it when Dick Ebersol was the producer.
And then he became a cast member for a little while.
Yeah, I hosted it twice that season.
Yeah.
And then that summer, Dick called me and said, "Listen, I got a crazy idea.
Yeah.
If I could get Chris Guest and Marty Short and Harry Shearer to come, would you come as a cast member?" And I thought about it for like 6 seconds and said yes. I just knew it was the right move.
It's funny because you guys did some great stuff.
Great stuff, and people think that we were there for years. We were there 1 year.
Yeah.
We were all there 1 year, but out of that 1 year came Ed Grimley, came Synchronized Swimming, became Fernando. You know
when? Yeah, what was
the I Hate When That Happens guys.
Yeah.
Ball Players, which was a piece I did with Chris, where we played 2 Negro League baseball players. A film that was so my favorite thing that we did that year. Chris and I were always together doing stuff.
And that was the first time you worked with him?
Yeah, but we were good friends. But it was the first time we really
right. Oh, that must have been great.
Oh, it was great. And it was a fantastic time.
Can I just tell you how much I enjoyed the moment where you went, all right.
It's just that I've told the story before.
But that was a great, honest moment. Yeah. So then, after Soap, you're doing the stand up and you get this, I guess what happens though? You're a guy, you can act.
I get a variety show at NBC.
Right.
I get my own variety show. Brandon Tartikoff gives me my own show.
How long did that run?
2 episodes.
Great. Good run.
We did 6.
Yeah. It was
supposed to be a summer replacement.
Yeah. That meant something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock Hudson, was on, I don't know, McMillan and wife or whatever it was, has a heart attack. So he can't do his show.
Yeah.
We had already taped a show.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're on this week." Yeah. We had no promotion. We're up against Fantasy Island and Love Boat on ABC, which was gigantic. Yeah. I'm on NBC.
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And it was, it was just starting to find itself.
Yeah.
Ratings weren't good. Nobody knew who the fuck I was. As far as that went, I was the guy from Soap.
And you were doing a monologue. You're doing a song and dance.
It was a big variety show.
Yeah. Who was
no song and dance. I had a monologue. My first guests were John Candy, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas from
doing sketches.
Yeah. And that's where Fernando got born.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did the first 2 aired. And we didn't do any ratings. But the show was starting to find itself. These shows need time.
Sure, everything needs time.
And we were coming in to do the 5th episode. 2 had aired, and I go in the office, and I was like always fried.
Yeah,
because I could feel it wasn't quite working. The ratings weren't good.
Right.
And on the way in, a friend had called and said, "You okay?" Yeah, we're doing a good show tonight. It's really good. We got Shelley Duvall and Manhattan Transfer, and it was a good. It's a good show. We're doing some better stuff.
Yeah.
And I hung up. I go, what did he ask me if I was okay? So I get into the office. Trades are on the table.
That's what you found
Trades
out.
are on my desk. And it says, NBC cancels Billy Crystal Comedy Hour. Nobody told me.
Right. The fuck is wrong with show business?
Can you imagine that? Nobody told me.
Yeah.
And then I had to go out and do the show. For some reason, because the pressure was off, the shows got better. I didn't give a shit anymore for that. Yeah, I knew we were done, but the shows got really good. And that was a terrible, terrible thing to do.
You all right?
Oh yeah. Jesus.
That phone call that you hang up, you're like, what?
Yeah, it's the guy who ruins the surprise party. So have a good time tonight at the party. How you, the Yankees? The Yankees. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So it isn't easy. So then, I was back on the road. I was playing Vegas and doing all kinds of places. And it was, because even if you fail, you were there.
Yeah.
So, you could make a little bit more money and play a little bit bigger places.
And had
so
Jack Rollins told you what he told you when he was 100, maybe you would have been able to not take it so hard.
Oh, but you can't. No, when you get canceled like that,
no, it's embarrassing.
It's like everybody in the country looks at you and goes, no.
That's right.
It's a terrible rejection.
And also in the business, you like, it's literally, maybe they ruin the surprise party, but you're still the asshole who's going to go out there. You got to do a show, and everyone around you is like,
poor guy. There's that. There's that. And
right.
it was like, oh, man.
You didn't sign up to be the victim of anything. You were doing a show.
No. And so then I did my second HBO special, which was a really good show. I've done 6.
Yeah.
Second one was called The Comics Line, and the opening was a parody of a chorus line.
Yeah.
So I played all of these people auditioning for this special.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun.
I can't remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And
that was when Michael Fuchs was there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got really strong reviews and so on and so forth. And Dick Ebersol called me and said, we'd like you to host the show. So now I was
hosting SNL.
Yeah.
You're a big comic now. No. I mean, you're one of the guys, because that's when, like, I think the nation started to recognize that you were the guy that did all the stuff. You did the impressions. You did the great comedy. You had the HBO specials. Yeah. Like, you were, a top comic.
Yeah. It was a really good time.
Yeah.
It was a really good time.
But when did the movies come?
Movies come at the end of Saturday Night Live.
Because when Harry Met Sally is...
That's later. The first movie was Running Scared.
Yeah.
With Gregory Hines.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. That was right after SNL. So I was there for a year,
Yeah.
And then comes Throw Mama from the Train.
Funny.
Princess Bride.
Oh, that was all before Harry Met Sally?
Harry Met Sally.
Princess Bride with Carol Kane?
Yeah.
You played the little old guy?
Yeah. Miracle Man.
Yeah. Great.
Have fun storming the castle, that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm actually in Spinal Tap, too.
No, I know, the mime.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
And then Harry and Sally, and then City Slickers, and then, so it was plus, I was hosting, in 86 we started Comic Relief.
Yeah.
So that was a great thing, to be able to be with Robin and Whoopi and all the other comics.
Now, were you friends with Robin all the way through? Like, did you guys work together? Or was it really that brought you guys close?
That got us closer.
Yeah.
We knew each other,
right.
But, he traveled in a different world.
Yeah.
In the late 70s than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Slightly more dangerous world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we always had fun times together.
Yeah.
But when we started to get thrown together in 86, it deepened.
Yeah. And he was a very sweet man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. And Whoopi, did you know her before? Well,
no. I had met her backstage at her one-person show.
So whose big idea was it? Was it Zamuta's idea?
Chris Albrecht.
It was Albrecht.
And Zamuta. Yeah, Zamuta and Albrecht. But Chris
to
is
bring
the
you
one who
guys
brought
together.
Us. Yeah.
Huh.
And it was great.
Oh yeah, it was history making.
It was fantastic times, and to be with all the other comics, it was terrific.
Great, and you meet all the new comics every year. Oh, it's beautiful.
When I was in Louisville for Ali's funeral, and he had asked, I gotta go back and change the narrative. I had done my first television show.
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
Just by chance.
Yeah.
So I could imitate him, and he loved it, and
you loved it, right?
loved it, and we became really good friends. It's so weird.
It's one of those things.
It's one of those. I had it with my two heroes, Mickey Mantle and Ali. I end up being big parts of their lives at a time, and their deaths.
Mickey too?
Yeah.
He was a hard character, huh?
Yeah, fantastic, interesting, sad, ultimately.
Yeah.
But I ended up helping Costas write the eulogy that he gave for Mickey in Dallas.
Yeah.
And Ali and I became great friends and important friends, and at his request, I was one of the eulogists. So backstage, Whoopi was there. They had like a green room. And I see Dave Chappelle. And Robin and I, when the first comer, I think it was the first comer, I believe, got Chris to put him on.
When he was like 17 or 18?
Yeah. And we fought for him to be on. And when I saw him, he just ran over and grabbed me and talked about that. And got very emotional. Talking about, that. He never forgot
at Ali's funeral.
Yeah, it was really sweet. It was really
He's
sweet.
become very sort of like, he's a grown man now, and he's got a lot of feelings, and, it's nice.
Yeah, it was terrific. Yeah.
And when you eulogized Ali, what was the experience?
It was awesome, because now I'm sitting there. I first met him in 1974.
Yeah.
Just starting out. I had this voice. I do this voice for him at this big dinner that had become a television special.
It wasn't a roast?
No. Until I got up and did him, and nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
I told the story at the eulogy. Dick Schaap, who was the MC and the editor of Sport Magazine.
Yeah.
They had made Ali the Sport Magazine Man of the Year for beating Foreman, getting the title back and all this. And he had called my agent looking for Robert Klein. Because Bob did a lot of sports stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you could do 5 minutes on a dais with it. And they said, hey, Bob's out of town. He's not available. And she said, but I got this new kid, and he does this great imitation of Ali and Cosell. It's 3 minutes long. And Dick said, sounds perfect. Just have him show up. So I get to the Plaza Hotel, and I loved Ali. I so respected him, and there were two things you look forward to at a certain point for us: a Woody Allen movie and an Ali fight. Those are two like huge events.
Right.
And sometimes you couldn't tell what was more important to us.
Yeah.
And Dick said, "How do I introduce you?" So I said, "Just say I'm one of Ali's closest and dearest friends."
Yeah.
Thinking I'll go into the Cosell, and that'll make sense.
Yeah.
And I won't have to talk.
Right.
I won't have to introduce it. I'll just boom, bang, right in there.
Yeah.
Another Scorsese kind of edit.
Yeah.
And I walk into the ballroom with Janice, and I'm like, oh my God, look who's here. That's Franco Harris from the Steelers, and there's Gino Marchetti from the Colts, Archie Griffin, Heisman Trophy winner. It's everybody is here. There's Neil Simon and George Plimpton. Oh my God. And I led up to the dais. I'm sitting 3 seats from Ali. And I told the stories that he's looking at everybody and seeing Ali in person for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, he was 33.
Yeah.
He was the king of the world. He had just defeated Foreman, who people thought was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And he was afloat.
Yeah.
He was just an Ice Capades float.
Yeah.
He was his head was enormous because it was shining, and it was like, oh my, there he is.
Yeah.
There he is. And he's like looking, he knows everybody but me.
Right.
And he looks at me with a look that I described as him thinking, what is Joel Grey doing here? And Dick introduced me after Neil Simon spoke and Plimpton spoke, and and the room was electric. It was electric because of Ali. And now one of Ali's closest and dearest friends. And I get up.
Yeah.
2 people clap, my wife and the agent.
Yeah.
And I go into Cosell.
Yeah.
Now someone's yelling at me in the audience. I'm getting heckled.
Yeah.
You remember Bundini Brown?
He's a trainer? Yeah.
Drew Bundini Brown.
Yeah.
He started Rumble, Young Man Rumble, Float Like a Butterfly, and he was a loudmouth guy.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at me
as
I'm doing my thing.
Cosell.
We're here in Zaire. It's spelled Z-A-I-R-E. Some would pronounce it Zaire. They're wrong. Muhammad, come over. And someone's yelling at me. And I realized what he was saying was, you got him, man. You got him, man. Be doing that, man. Be doing that, man. And I had to shut him up.
Yeah.
I'm literally 30 seconds into my career.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm dealing with a heckler.
Right. How do you shut him up?
Bundini, I'll handle this. I'll handle this. Bring the champ over. Just bring the champ. So now I'm getting big laughs.
Yeah.
And I could see Ali's like laughing a little.
Right.
And then I go right into the Ali.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about George Foreman. Talk about George Foreman. They say he was going to kill me. George couldn't kill him by big laser punches. I roped the dope and I'm announcing tonight I'm changing my name again. I got new religious beliefs. From now on, I want to be known as Izzy Yiskowitz. Izzy Chaim Yiskowitz, because Chaim the greatest of all time. It's Jewish boxing, Howard. You don't hit the man, just make him feel guilty.
Killing?
Yeah, killing, beyond killing. He is next to me. And he's now a big St. Bernard puppy.
Yeah.
He's putting his napkin over his head. He's getting up throwing punches at me. It was delightful. I mean, beyond belief.
Yeah.
Get huge ovation.
Yeah.
He hugs me and whispers in my ear, "You're now my little brother." And that's what he called me for 42 years until the last time I saw him. Yeah. And I was pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a fucking beautiful thing.
Yeah. And those are those weird things, man. Those are those weird things. I know, when you get a chance, I saw you on, I guess it was Letterman.
Yeah.
Talking about being with Mel and Carl.
Yeah.
And, you get a chance to go to the museum. You get a chance to see the Ten Commandments. I mean, they're that.
And I was talking about one of those moments, but being with Dave.
Yeah.
On panel, that was the first time I got to do that. I'd done stand up on his show a few times, but I never get the sense that he really knew who I was or anything.
Right.
So that was the first time in my career, and that's only a couple of years ago, where I was able to sit down as a guest with him. And, I can't even, because he was my guy, I love Dave, sure. Right? So just to have that, and then to have it go well, and to have him, to sort of have that moment. You only got that 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you going to engage? Is this going to happen?
Yeah.
And, you don't even remember it. You're in it, and then it's over, and it was like, that happened.
Yeah.
But he was, I felt him.
Oh, yeah. That was the greatest thrill.
Yeah.
Was when I...
You must have been with Carson, right?
Yeah. But Dave...
Yeah.
Dave was like a peer.
Right.
Johnny was a god.
Right.
It was different.
Yeah.
I was in a totally different place.
Yeah.
I loved coming on with Dave.
Yeah.
I loved making him laugh.
Right.
I loved, our relationship grew.
Yeah.
As a panelist.
Right. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want to be one of those guys.
Yeah. And it got great.
Right.
It got great. I used to, the 2-3 times a year you would do the show.
Right.
It was like I so looked forward to making Dave laugh and hanging out with him for a while.
Well, that's what I did with Conan, because I wanted to be one of you guys. Like, I would see Richard and you and Leno on Dave, and I'm like, that's the guy. I don't want to be the standing guy. I can do that.
Yeah.
That's actually a pain in the ass.
Yes, it is.
So, I can do it, but it doesn't represent me well. Why can't I be the guy, where they go uh-oh, here comes, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Now, let's just go through the movies a bit, because, I would imagine that even though you did all those other films, that When Harry Met Sally was such a comic masterpiece, that, that changed the perception of the industry about you.
Yeah, I guess so. I think so. I don't know. I don't know what they thought about me.
But I think people, what's amazing about you, and I mean this as a compliment, was that it's hard when you can carry as much, comedy as you do, to sort of surrender the stage and be a straight guy, in a comic situation. I don't think that people appreciate the significance and power of that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when it's happening.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Magic Johnson, won championships because he passed.
Right.
And he was a great passer.
Yeah.
And he could score when he had to.
Sure.
But he made everybody else better.
Yeah.
I know who can do this alone.
Right.
And I've been fortunate to be paired with great funny or interesting or great dramatic people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where like with Bob, with De Niro, I was very much a straight man in that movie.
Yeah, no, it was
and
great.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking about, listen, I love Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Stan was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oliver was more interesting to me because he usually was on the recipient of the unintentional hit in the face or the whatever it may be, and he would just look at the camera. He would look at the camera and go, "Do you believe the shit I have to deal with?" Right?
Yeah.
And so with Bob, he was the funny guy. You know, I developed that script and wrote the draft with Peter Tolan.
For the first one?
The first one. Before Harold came on.
He's a great screenwriter, that guy.
Yeah. And I would have to be Bob a lot in the writing sessions. I would do him as best I could. And then we got the script right, and I called De Niro. I did not know him very well. And I said, I have something. I think it'd be it's really funny.
Yeah.
And he said, send it. So we send the script. 2 days later, he called me and says, I like this. Let's do a reading.
Yeah.
Let's do a reading. So he flies out to California, and we cast the best we could. We got actors in. We go up to a boardroom at CAA, and I'm sitting across from him, and he's hilarious. And right away, I know my job. You know, I know it. I know what I do, and I'm doing it in the reading.
Yeah.
And he's laughing at me not doing much.
Right.
You know, I'm like taking it. And of course, I played a guy who listened for a living.
Right.
I played a shrink.
Right.
And shrinks don't come right back at you.
Right.
He listened, and I was intimidated by him, which I was. I was scared of him, which I was a little bit. But I also was loving the fact that Robert De Niro was having a good time and he's sitting across from me, and holy shit, this is going to work.
Right.
And that was fantastic.
I love it.
So I liked it. I love doing that. I'm a good listener.
But it's like I don't think I think that you were equally as funny. Like I think that the dynamic is what it is, in that you know the way you process things. You're like, okay.
When he says, "Listen, if I talk to you and you turn me into a fag, I'm going to kill you." No, right?
Right.
And I said, well, we should define what you mean by fag. Look, if I go fag, you die. You got it? And coming out of his mouth was it was genius.
Yeah.
You know, it was just genius. And, you know, nobody be offended. It's lines from the movie.
Right.
So, you know, that was it.
It's fascinating, though, that, like, you know, with, like, because I watch him now, like, you know, even in the last movie, and I talked about it recently, The Intern, that, you know, he's a very amazing actor, obviously.
Oh, sure.
But, like, he can just tweak that character, the gangster character, that he's played, you know, over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just one knob turn to menacing. You know, like, how he does the comedy is kind of interesting.
Well, this was his first real funny role.
Right.
And he was nervous about it. Oh, am I going to be able to play these guys again?
Yeah.
And it took him a long time. I said, yeah. And I said, Bob, you're an icon. I'm just saying that to him.
Yeah.
His face. You're different. You can always play those guys because you're so honest. It's so real.
Yeah.
That, you know, this guy needs to be real.
Yeah. And
my guy needs to be real. And we're going to, our styles, people will go, what the hell are they doing together?
Right.
But it'll work because we both are going to exist in our own realities the best we can do it.
And he took that.
Yeah. And it was great.
Yeah. Both of them are funny.
And the first one, you know, he says, this was, I think, pretty fantastic. He tells Harold, I want to change the shooting schedule. I don't want to see Billy until it's time to see Billy in the script. I want to do all my anxiety stuff, all my stuff first.
Yeah.
So when I see him, I'm ready to see him. So they change the shooting schedule. And I was a producer of the movie too, so he asked me not to come to the set. Also, he said, I just don't want to see you till it's done. Please and okay.
Yeah.
So Peter and I did a lot of rewrites and stuff and that stuff together in that time. So now we're going to shoot on the set, and it's my office, and it's Bob's entrance into my office,
right,
with Jelly. we meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, and he's frumpy and he's unshaven, and so we go over preliminary blocking for the scene, and Harold's saying, so you move in here, and I think maybe let's just run it, and he's looking at the script, and he's just very sleepy-eyed.
Yeah.
All right, and then where do you want me to go? And Harold said, the shot's going to break down. Once you come in and say, do you know me? And Billy says, yeah, yes, I do. And then he goes, no, you don't. All right, no, I don't. You ever see me in the paper? I don't even get the paper.
Right.
And then the shot would break up.
Yeah.
And Harold would say, cut. So I said, all right, it's going to be about an hour and a half. So we go and get dressed, get this, that. And I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
Harold's on the set, and then Bob appears, and he's not Sleepy Bob. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's Paul Vitti. He's dyed his hair. He's shaved. He's in a Gotti-like suit.
Uh-huh.
And he's scary looking.
Yeah.
It went to 11 really quickly.
Yeah.
And we do a quick little rehearsal, and he doesn't say his lines. He's just, I'll be here. Okay. And action. He walks in. You know me? Yes, I do. No, you don't. No, I don't. You ever seen my picture in the paper? I don't even get the paper. And cut. Whoa. He goes, come here. De Niro calls me over.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he's going to say, is that how you act?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Instead, he says to me, he started whispering on this. He makes you come to him.
Yeah.
If you see anything that could be funny or something, you think I could do better, just take me aside and tell me, all right? Don't say it, but, because, it's new for me. Robert De Niro was saying to me, if I see anything, I'm his acting partner in this, co-star. Right. If you see anything, help me.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Next take, right?
Yeah.
You know me? No, the same thing.
Yeah.
And cut. I go, come here. He says, what? I said, is that how you're going to do it? That's it? And he starts to laugh so hard. Then we were great. Then we were just great. That's it? And he loved it, and he could take a joke, and it was, I took a chance and I won. Saying to De Niro, that's the best you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That set the tone.
Yeah, it was
great.
Great experience.
But let's just talk about directing and about a little bit about Mr. Saturday Night and also about Woody Allen. The Mr. Saturday Night, I loved that movie because I was thrilled that you had this horrible thing in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was one of those movies like, I know that guy.
Yeah, there was a lot of Allen in that. There was a lot of Buddy Hackett in that. There was a lot of these...
Did you have a relationship with Buddy?
Not really. We knew each other pretty well, but not like I did with Allen.
Yeah, I loved Buddy Hackett.
Yeah.
I thought he was very
hilarious.
Funny. He's so funny.
Hilarious.
Effortlessly.
Hilarious.
So, but like I was happy about that take on show business.
Well, it was a take on the guys who don't make it.
Yeah.
Which
is a possibility for anybody. Any generation.
This was not a success story.
Yeah.
This was a guy who was his own terrorist, who couldn't handle pressure, who screwed up big moments in his career. We made them as funny as we could make them.
Yeah.
He's the guy who followed the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Yeah. You're excited? I just bought a house. And it was a comics movie.
Yeah, and I felt that, and I respected that.
And it was lonely, and he was edgy, and it was a risk because it was coming off, two really big, well-received movies, Harry and City Slickers, and Oscars, and it was like a really good time.
Yeah,
and the movie mostly got really great reviews, and then no business. We didn't do any business, and that was hard to take. It was because I directed the movie, I'm in the movie, I co-wrote the movie, I produced the movie, and we had a 72-day schedule. 53 or 54 of those days, I was in severe old age makeup.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It was exhausting.
Yeah,
but I loved every second of it.
And do you retroactively take Harold Rollins' advice and appreciate the work you put?
Oh, big time! It took a long time.
Yeah.
We had a screening of the movie 2 months ago or something. Malibu Film Societies, like 350 people came.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the movie since the premiere.
Yeah.
And it played like a brand new movie. They loved it. And now we're making it a musical.
Really?
Yeah, for the Nederlanders, who loved the movie and came to us and said, this could be a musical. And so Gans and Mandel and I, we've written the first draft. We had a reading the other day. And it's an edgy... It totally has the spirit of the film. And it could really be exciting.
Are you going to do it?
I probably will.
That's
I
exciting.
Probably will. I haven't totally committed yet, but
won't need as much makeup.
No, I know. I had David Paymer, who was nominated for an Academy Award for playing my brother in the movie.
Yeah.
He came and he read Stan's part, and I said, David, it'll be a lot easier. We don't have the 5 hours of makeup, man.
And you directed one other feature?
Yeah, Forget Paris, and then which I really like that movie a lot. And then,
I got to see it. I'm sorry.
My favorite, I love Mr. Sad Night. It's special to me. But 61 that I directed for HBO.
Oh yeah,
about Madeline Maris.
Yeah,
that was a real passion project. That I think to this day is like their highest rated movie made for HBO.
Yeah,
yeah, I think so.
Do you like directing?
I love directing. To me, it's the best job.
Are you going to do more of it?
I wish I had done more up till now. So we've written 2 little movies that I hope to get made that I will direct. I really love it, and I see myself doing that more, hopefully, as time goes on.
Yeah, why not, if you can?
Yeah.
And being that we sort of established it, Woody Allen was very important to us, and and I know that feeling of the new Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
Even as he just kept making movies, and you were even able to go like, well, that one, no.
Listen, I love Picasso. I don't love all of them.
Yeah, right. But I remember seeing you, in Deconstructing Harry, which I like that movie a lot.
It's a very good movie.
It's a very good movie. And when he cast you as Satan, I was like, oh my God. What's going Wait, did he just offer that to you?
Yes.
Did you ask him why you?
Yes.
And what did he say?
I think you'd be a very unlikely devil. And I think you have to understand... that I see in the movie you're my best friend, but I imagine you as this guy who's going to take this girl from me, so you're the devil.
Yeah.
And I think you'd do very well in the part. So when you get a handwritten letter and just your pages, and I had known him on and off a little bit through Jack Rollins, through the office, who managed him. Yeah. And we got along great because I just went out. People were afraid to talk to him. I just went and I talked jazz and I talked Knicks. And it was great. He knew my family background. He actually knew my dad a little bit. I used to go to that place on 2nd Avenue.
Oh, the record store.
Yeah, to listen to Sidney Bechet. And so I knew all of that stuff.
Oh, that's sweet, huh?
And I said, Woody, to me, the devil guy is Hugh Hefner. I want to play him like Hugh Hefner. I think he's, I think he's got like the Playboy. Remember the Playboy Penthouse TV show?
Right.
The show would come from the Playboy Club in Chicago. Or
people sitting on the floor and on the sofas.
There'd be everybody from James Baldwin to Telly Savalas.
Right.
And he loved that idea, and so that it's a great cast, and it's a really good movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that was the only one you did with him, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Sadly, I'd love to work with him at any time.
How about hosting the Oscars? Is that done or?
Probably. I don't. There's so many other.
No, do you like doing that?
I had a great time doing it for the most part.
Do you look at when you're up there hosting the Oscars? Do you look out at the people there and feel like this is my community?
Yeah, especially the earlier ones.
Yeah,
when my film career was rising.
Yeah,
and the show needed a host. They had a couple of disastrous hosting experiences. When I inherited the job.
Yeah.
And I was ready for it. I had done 3 Grammy Awards.
Right.
I did the Grammys 3 times.
It seems like a harder gig.
Yeah.
It's a bigger room. And it's weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, now what? You mean the Grammys?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's weird. Then it was Radio City. It was the Shrine.
Oh, right.
It was smaller scale.
Yeah.
Now it's...
Now I don't even know what's going on there.
No, it's
like
terrible.
A basketball stadium or something.
Yeah, it's terrible. The venue.
Yeah.
The music is always great, but it's... So when I presented one year, and then I hosted the first time, I felt part of the community.
Yeah.
I was never phased.
Yeah.
I can't say I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out, and there's Gene Hackman, and there's Coppola, and there's Dustin, and there's Jack and Warren. And the first night, the first hosting job, was a complicated show. As I recall, they had satellite feeds from all over the world. So we had Sajid Rai from India.
Yeah.
We had guys on the space shuttle.
Right.
There's somebody from opening an envelope in Paris. It was like a complicated thing. But I had one writer.
Yeah. Who was that?
Robert Wall.
Robert!
Yeah. Bob and I wrote the first... We did all the Grammys, just the two of us. The
Must
Grammys.
have been frenetic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why would you say that? What do you think? He was very much like Scorsese, but a terrific guy and a good joke
sweet
writer.
Guy, yeah.
And we were a good team. And we had Jack Nicholson had. The rumor was he made like $65 million for the first Batman.
Yeah, the
he made
Joker.
some huge deal. Or
Right.
something. So I came out and looked around, and Jack Nicholson. I started doing Jack jokes.
Yeah.
Jack is so rich.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman drove him here tonight. He was driving Mercedes. He was doing it. Big laugh. Jack is so rich, he bought land in Japan. Big laugh. Because Sony had just been purchased. Universal, whatever it was. Jack is so rich, John Peters still cuts his hair. John Peters was now the head of a studio.
Right.
And was a famous
hairdresser.
So that it couldn't have gone
Good
better.
Inside stuff.
Inside stuff, but big jokes.
Right.
And he was laughing like crazy and so on and so forth. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Johnny stood here.
Right.
Hope stood here.
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm in my dressing room. There's an 18-minute break.
Yeah.
I have 18 minutes off while they do sound effects, editing, all that shit. I'm in a dressing room, and they were refreshing my makeup, and I take a leak and all this stuff, and I'm grabbing a sandwich, and who is it? It's Jack and Warren. So I go, Jack and Warren who?
Yeah, right.
They're laughing.
Right.
I open the door. It's Jack Nicholson and Warren Beatty saying to me how great they loved the show so far. Thank you for doing it. Thanks for making fun of my money.
Yeah.
Jack said to me. Big hugs all around. Keep going. Have a great show, and maybe we can hang out afterwards. Are you kidding me? What a generous thing to do.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was truly amazing.
That's fucking beautiful.
So I've had, I had very good times doing it. It's nice, every year that, where is he?
Right. You get that, right?
I do get that, and that's nice, and so on and so forth. And we decided, how can we, and we did it with the Grammys too, how can we change what the host does?
Yeah.
And we did it on the Grammys. We did a lot of funny, innovative things on the Grammys. Remember the Leonard Bernstein Young People's Concerts?
Yeah.
So for you people listening, Leonard Bernstein was obviously a great composer and conductor, and he would have these specials with the orchestra. And he'd pick out the instruments and do it for kids, young people. And he would teach you how an orchestra was put together and so on, and the different sounds of the different instruments and so on and so forth. So I always loved that. And I said to Robert Wall, I said, let's do a young people's concert. But the orchestra is Bobby McFerrin. And Bobby could do every instrument there was, vocally.
Yeah.
He could sing sound like every instrument. And so we did that. We did it as a piece. Yeah. That music started in caveman times, and now he's doing some sort of drum sound in his mouth. Yeah. And their rhythms became infectious, and now music comes. And little did the cavemen know that someday Michael Jackson would own their publishing.
Yeah.
That was the joke. And it went on and on and on, but it was different. It was different. So then we came to the Oscars, and I decided there was the year before was that horrendous musical moment when Rob Lowe sang "Big Wheel Keep on Turning."
Yeah, bad. Yeah.
So the Oscars announced there's no music. There'll be no music. Right. So I said to the audience, there'll be no music this year on the show. They applaud. You won't hear you won't hear those medleys about the nominated movies.
Yeah.
You won't hear this. And then I did one.
Right.
And genius Mark Shaman, and Bruce Valanche and I and Bob Wall wrote the first medley where we did songs about the nominated movie. Right. And it became like a big thing.
Yeah.
Then over time we created the movies. Now let's put me in the nominated movies. Yeah. And so that became a thing. And then we had different things to do.
Yeah, you created your own shticks for it.
Yeah, and then we did a very successful thing called What Are They Thinking? Where we put people on camera and I would say what they would think, and I would improvise those things. And so that became great fun, and
you had a good time with it.
Yeah. You had to.
You felt it, yeah.
Because it's sort of a thankless job.
Yeah, and you can't look at it like that.
No.
That's a professional thing, and you have a lot of respect for jokes, which is good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Jokes are always good.
How do you all right? Let's talk about it for a second. The Comedians was a show you put a lot into. You produced it, you wrote it, you starred in it. You had Josh Gad with you.
Yeah.
It was a funny premise.
Yes,
it was something that was close to you, and it did not take off.
Right.
So how do you frame that in your head? What do you think happened, and what do you live with?
I live with disappointment that. It didn't succeed the way we had hoped it would, of course. We were working with Larry Charles, and it was a great pedigree, and Josh was great, and a fantastic cast. Stephanie Weir and Matt Oberg and Megan Ferguson, like great people. Mm-hmm. And, for whatever, and I totally thought the shows were really good. Yeah. And they got better over the course of the time. And we were fighting for ratings. We were the lead-in for Louis, and FX is a tough place to do comedy. Yeah, I think, and we had a very devoted, too small audience. Right.
Which is not unusual for television now.
No, you watch television in different ways, and FX wasn't streaming the show, which I think hurt us.
Do you feel like they hung you out to dry a little, or?
Let's just say I'm disappointed that they didn't give us a chance for a second season.
Right.
In that shows need to grow.
Right.
They need to develop. And
I think that's true from my own experience.
From the third episode on, the third episode. We had to lay pipe with the pilot and so on that Josh and I would team together. The third episode, there was a really funny scene where we're on our way to a Kids Critics Award show.
Yeah.
He and I both been nominated for voiceover work.
Right.
Because he was Olaf.
Right.
And I'm Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. And he gets me stoned.
Yeah.
And we stop off on the way because we're hungry.
Yeah.
We stop off at a supermarket in the valley on our way to the Nokia Center, wherever it was. And we just roamed the supermarket, ripped.
Yeah.
It was really funny. So now those who slammed us a little bit are writing, wait a second, folks, we were wrong. This show was hilarious, and it's getting better and better and better and better. And that started to happen. Yeah. So now we have a little surge in ratings and so on and so forth, and the shows are getting really good. It's on Hulu, folks, if you want to check it out, for those who didn't see it. And then when we came up for getting picked up, which I really wanted to do, because I felt we were just hitting our stride.
Yeah, and you were in it, and you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the people, and it takes them like 3 weeks to decide what to do, and I think, oh boy, we're in trouble. We're not going to get picked up, which we didn't. Right. And I had a long talk with the head of the network about it, who said, it's very expensive, and I said, so let's do less. We'd have to do 13. Let's do 8. Yeah. Louis does 7. Yeah. Let's do 8. Let's do 8 great ones.
And he said, well, Louis does whatever he wants. Let's move past that.
Yeah. And then it was, so then they said, I feel terrible, and but, and they didn't pick us up. And I'm over it now.
Sensitive guy, though. This stuff hits you. It's very hard to.
Wouldn't it hit you?
Of course. But like, a lot of people, they, in retrospect, they get diplomatic. They say it's show business. But it seems to me that, like, for you and for people like us, this shit hurts.
Of course it hurts.
Yeah.
Because, you spend a year of your life with people, developing, writing, working with them. You give your listen, I get it. It's part of it.
The worst part.
The worst part. The reasons why they didn't pick us up pissed me off.
Right.
And I felt a little embarrassed about that and angry about it. That they
What
didn't have the money.
Yeah.
That the show was going to cost too much for the next season.
Right.
So I said, let's do less.
Yeah.
We'll do less shows. We have to do a full 13, So I'm mad that they didn't believe in.
They're walking out of the office. You're going, one. Let's do one.
One
episode.
One 13-hour show. You can break it up into little, the Nicholas Nickleby of comedy. So I was, so listen, that stuff happens. I'm glad it's out there. People can see it. It's on Hulu. But I was really proud of what we did.
Oh, good. Well, that's again, that Rollins advice I'm going to remember now.
Yeah, it's so important. And for anybody listening, but no matter what you do, if you feel good about what you do, no one can ever take that away from you.
And try to make that enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because you just please yourself.
Well, look, I think you're one of the greats. It was
God. Thanks.
It was very sweet that you came and did this, and I hope it was good for you.
Let's smoke.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, man. I really enjoyed it.
One of the greats, Mr. Billy Crystal and me. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks again to our